Well, hello there! Let's finish up that Frieren stuff. Today I'm gonna cover how I made the gem, post-processing, painting and finishing touches. Let's start with the gem. To make a transparent gem or crystal-like thing, we need a silicone mold to pour our epoxy resin into. It's not that complicated, but it takes time and expensive materials to make one. So I decided to experiment and try to do a shortcut by just 3D printing the mold. It's logical to use resin printer for a smoother result, but at the moment it was too cold in my workshop and I was curious if PLA would work for that. So this is the mold I made. It was printed in this orientation, so hopefully layer lines going across and creating a smoother surface. And of course I sanded everything up to 400 grit sandpaper. Also the model has those ridges, so the mold can stand firmly. As a mold release, I use Vaseline, thinned down with white spirit, and applied with a brush. At the moment I don't have a vacuum chamber or pressure chamber to cast clean and clear gems, so I decided to use epoxy used in river tables. It cures in about 2 or 3 days and have a very long working time, which allows all the bubbles, hopefully all the bubbles to come out. Also, I will add a thin layer of epoxy mixed with mica powder to add some sparkle to the back of the gem. It's been 3 days and the gem is ready to demold. To do that, I will flex the mold slightly in different positions first. Then I will tap it on the table again slightly. It's covered in Vaseline and the first thing I need to do is to wash it with soapy water. There are a lot of imperfections on the surface. Some are from the mold and some are from the way I applied the mold release. So I will have to sand everything smooth. Of course, from the silicone mold, the gem would have been almost perfect from the start. But considering that I make only 3 gems and one of them being the test piece, I think it's okay to spend some time sanding the gems itself, instead of working with silicone and the master mold. At least that was the idea behind this experiment. I will heat it with 400 grit and 800 grit sandpaper, followed by fine sanding sponge. To give the gem its color, I will spray it with red candy paint and apply 2K clear. And this is how the test piece is looking in its place. Now I need to repeat it 2 more times. After making the gems that way, I've got 3 takeaways from this experiment. First, I think it works best for bigger gems or medium-sized gems, because for smaller objects I think it can be hard to flex the mold the way I did. Potentially, if the mold is printed in resin, it can be a one-time use mold, or if the walls are very thin, it can probably bend and flex even for smaller gems. Second, in the past, I had access to vacuum chamber and pressure chamber for tasks like that, and it kinda spoiled me, so now I have to learn how to properly work with resins so I don't introduce too much bubbles to begin with. And after doing the test piece, I immediately understood that I need to mix the resins way slower so I don't create very tiny bubbles that don't have a chance to come out. Third, with this type of mold, the release agent has to be robust. Thinned down Vaseline worked pretty well, but it left a brush stroke texture on the surface of the gem. So next time I would either thin it even more or try to use some kind of spray release, couple of layers of it. Overall, I think this is a success, especially considering that I don't really like working with silicones. So I will definitely use that method in the future. And while the final gems were curing, I started working on main parts of the stuff. This part is mostly smooth surfaces without small details, so it should be easy to sand it smooth. But we have those seam lines, those places where the part is glued together. I pay very close attention to the way how the curvature behaves around those seams, because I know that when I will apply the shiny metallic paint to this part, any bump or crevice will be very visible and attract a lot of attention to itself. So the whole sanding process of this part revolves around those two seams. Everything else is a second priority. Sometimes sanding is not about making the surface smooth. Sometimes it's about adjusting the shape of that surface. And for that I will use 150 grit sandpaper on this little sander to make my life a bit easier. Here I'm trying to inspect the curvature around those seams using a lamp. It may be hard to see, but it feels like some of the shadows here are uneven. I can't fix that with more sanding, so I will have to rely on a couple of additional layers of filler primer. Generally, I don't mind sanding at all, but cylindrical and especially conical shapes are a nightmare to my fingers, mostly because it's hard to hold them properly in place. All the parts have been sanded, but they're not ready for the primer. I need to take care of those print defects and seams again. To do that, I will use the same filler primer that I'll spray later. Unfortunately, it does shrink a lot, so I have to do this 2 or 3 times. This filling method has its downsides, and I'm in the process of research to find the best working solution. There will probably be a separate video about gap fillers for 3D prints. After those areas had plenty of time to cure, I sanded it down to leave only gaps filled. Then applied 4 thin coats of 2K filler primer with a light mist of grey primer on top as a control guide coat. The stuff is supposed to be gold or bronze-like metallic. That means that I need a very smooth and shiny surface. In general, I use 400 and 800 grit papers plus very fine sanding sponge for this stage. The very first layer of primer was also gray to act as a stop sign, cause I don't want to sand through primer and reveal plastic. That would be a visible defect. When all parts were sanded to the same level of smoothness, I washed them all with soapy water to remove all possible traces of sanding dust. Bright metallics generally benefit from black gloss undercoat. Even though the primer is also black, it has different characteristics compared to black paint. So next I applied 2 layers of black lacquer paint. All of my paints are lacquer based. This layer will also help me see small imperfections and slightly feel some sanding scratches. On this test piece, I can clearly see fine sanding marks, as the black exaggerates things. But this is a bit misleading, cause when I will spray the gold, they will disappear. Still, I will use the same fine sanding sponge that I used previously and lightly sand all the surfaces to locate any major scratches or defects. For demonstration, I have some deep scratches on that test piece, as well as areas where primer showing through the black paint, and also untouched paint with visible small scratches. Now, after the gold has been sprayed, the only visible defect is where the deep scratches are. Same way, I removed some dust specks and treated a couple of uneven areas on the main part. Then, sprayed the target gold color together with cherry red for the rod. Now I need to assemble the thing, add some weathering, glue the gems in, and it's done. Sadly, I didn't have enough time to make proper beauty shots due to the deadline. But all in all, I think it turned out great, and I find myself being satisfied with the results of my work rather than not lately. Maybe I have become a better prop maker, or I'm just kinder to myself. I don't know. Anyway, I've made some adjustments and improvements to the 3D model and released it on Calls 3D. It's available there for free, the link is in the description. Thanks for watching this, I will see you in the next one.